Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the webinar of today. My name is Lisa Bock-Andersen. I am the Director of Communications and Events at Ertico ITS Europe here in Brussels. I am delighted to have you with us today. I will be the host for the next hour and a bit. So just by way of background, for those who have not been with us before, this is a series of webinars really taking us on the journey towards the ITS World Congress in Hamburg that will take place in October, as we all know, face to face. We look very much forward to seeing you there. And the aim of this series really is very straightforward: keeping you informed, keeping us all engaged, and also giving an opportunity to offer a little bit of an appetizer for you in terms of what awaits you in October. So we are now here today in the fourth webinar, and we have two more coming up in September. So let me shortly introduce the topic of today before we go to the agenda. So Good Journey from Ports to Customers is the theme of the Congress that we're covering today, with special focus on smart and sustainable ports of the future. And that really means, as the cloud suggests here, green, connected, digitalized, automated, integrated ports. And that's what we're going to hear all about today. As you can see, very similar trends as those for ITS in general. And yes, indeed, I thought it was worth highlighting that we have had 4 consecutive congresses in port cities. As you can see here, Singapore, Los Angeles, Hamburg, and also in 2023, Suzhou. So really, again, underlining the importance of ports in the overall ITS system. So let me introduce you briefly to the agenda. So we have 2 parts, as you can see, of the agenda. First, we will have a few welcome words from Jakob Bangsgaard, our CEO at Ertico ITS, and then we will have 2 keynotes introducing the theme of today. We have Christian Casida from Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles. He is Director of Transport Policies. And we have Jörg Lützner from Continental Corporation, Head of Innovation Management, Commercial Vehicles and Services. I'm delighted to have you here, both of you. Both Christian and Jörg will or both Volkswagen and Continental are partners of Ertico, but they are also sponsors of the ITS World Congress. Then we go to part 2, which is a panel that will be moderated by my colleague Shalko, who is Deputy Director of Innovation and Deployment. And that panel will be going a little bit more into depth, in the topic at hand. And in the end, we will have a short Q&A. And just to give you very briefly a couple of rules for the day, everybody are in listen-only mode. The webinar, yes, it will be recorded. It will be shared through our channels. As just mentioned, there will be a short Q&A at the end. Please use the tool at hand and send in your questions. Very welcome to write your questions to us as we go along. Then we will tackle them at the end after the panel discussion. So with that, let me hand over to Jakob Bangsgaard, our CEO at Ertico. Please, Jakob, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Also a warm welcome to the participants from throughout the world at this 4th webinar. This webinar here is, as Lisa mentioned, focusing on the logistics side, and in Ertico, smart and sustainable mobility is really what we do, and logistics is one of our 4 key priority areas. So it's very relevant for us to have this discussion today, and also therefore I would like to thank very much our keynote speakers and partners of Ertico and partners of the Congress from Volkswagen and Continental, and also the panel participants in the second panel. When we held the ITS World Congress in Copenhagen in 2018, we saw that there was really a need to strengthen the dialogue on the logistics side, also at our congresses. And it was very natural that logistics became a bigger part of our Congress when we moved on to Singapore, and then also Hamburg coming up later on, LA and Suzhou. So you will know much more about what we are doing in Hamburg with our partners, and also what will happen on the logistics side in Hamburg. And the fact that we are having the World Congress in these very important port cities throughout the world has really helped us a lot to focus more on logistics. We are working in Ertico with the key players throughout the supply chain. Ports is an important part of that. The delivery is a very important part of that. And that's why I'm so happy that we have some of the best experts in the world to tell us more about what is going on and what can we expect in Hamburg. So without further ado, I would just thank all of you who are participating, and I hope you will enjoy this webinar. Thank you very much. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Jakob, for this nice welcome words. So let us move forward to our first keynote. Christian from Volkswagen. Christian is going to talk a little bit about electrification, digitalization, and automation, as the slide suggests here. Christian, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lisa, for this nice introduction and for organizing this webinar. First, let me excuse that my background is not as nice as it should be, maybe, because I'm just already going to the next appointment. So sorry for the bad background during my keynote. I'm very pleased to speak to you today to report on the situation of Volkswagen commercial vehicles within the broad topic of the journey of goods to customers. Within the last 1.5 years, it was very challenging for all of us. But right now, we are also seeing just how important our products are for our customers and for our society. And we are seeing that light commercial vehicles are becoming increasingly important. We move people and we move goods, and we move the whole society with our products and services. To say it with a new brand claim, we transport success, freedom, and future. The success of our customers, especially our commercial customers, is our success and makes us systematically relevant, because our vehicles deliver important goods, because they are on the road as mobile workshops or as mobile bureaus, as you can see in my case right now, and there are several other use cases more. For me, this means being useful to people and society. Next slide, please. What's more, we are in the process of reinventing our company for the future to a certain extent. With the Bully, we redefined mobility and a whole segment. We also want to take a leading role again in areas such as autonomous driving and new digital mobility and transport solutions, and to also shape new mobility and delight our customers here. These are the topics I want to talk about. I want to talk to you about today and show you where we currently stand in our journey and what we've planned for the future of the brand and for our customers. Our world and therefore our markets and customers are changing as never before. This pace of change will continue to accelerate because the need to change is growing and because our opportunities are growing. This means that the demand of our customers, markets, and society are changing with the challenge to preserve our environment. And the technical possibilities are also changing rapidly. We derive 3 focus areas from this: the electrification and the automation and digitalization of our products and services. We want to set standards for our customers and for the entire industry and in all these focal areas, as we already do with our current products. We are convinced that this will make traffic safer, more environmentally friendly, and at the same time more efficient. We are therefore in the middle of the biggest transformation process that Volkswagen Commercial Vehicle brand has experienced in its 65-year history. The electrification of mobility and digitalization affect all areas of our business, from production and the way we work together to the system in our vehicles, our customers, and new business models, covering many aspects of vehicles and their use. And in addition to that, we want to take on a leading role with autonomous driving and the new business areas, mobility as a service and transport as a service. Next slide, please. But let us first talk about the electrification of our portfolio. We are expanding our portfolio in the van segment with an even greater focus on our customers' requirements. The e-Crafter is the first all-electric vehicle developed in-house. This is an important first milestone for us in the electrification of our brand. Incidentally, it is also the base vehicle for shuttle buses from Moya. In June, we presented the new multivan, which will also be available as a plug-in hybrid right from the start, an important step towards an increasingly electrified vehicle fleet. Together with ABT, we electrified the transporter for the transport of people and goods. And finally, as you can see on the left side, as the bully and zero-emission alternative, our ID. Bus will go on sale in 2022. The all-electric and soon also autonomously driving icon from Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, and from 2023 onwards, we will also return to the North American market with the ID. Bus because there's already a great interest there. The ID. Bus rounds off our van portfolio, and instead of one for all, it will then be just the white one for everyone. With that, we are working on our cargo, e-bike cargo, which will be another option for the delivery of goods to customers on the last mile. All in all, we can say that we continue to supply our customers and markets with the best electrified products. With that, I want to go to the next slide, because another field of action I want to talk about is mobility and transport as a service. We're already successfully learning the role of a provider of mobility, for example, with Moya in Hamburg and Hanover, with a fully electrified vehicle fleet. The Moya app enables our customers to organize ride-sharing in metropolitan areas. Moya is therefore ideal for a mobility as a service platform for successfully testing autonomous driving in use by commercial customers. Next slide, please. And however, as I mentioned, there's also the new world of autonomous driving. Let's move on from our classic business to the new world of autonomous driving with our ID. Bus autonomous driving. And Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles is rapidly driving forward the systematic development and realization of autonomous driving. We are now setting the course for the future of mobility. This will make an important contribution to mobility and traffic safety in towns and cities, also for the transport of goods as well. And our vehicle are the logical first choice for the implementation of such systems. The all-electric ID. Bus from Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles will then be the first vehicle in the Volkswagen Group to drive fully autonomously. The first test drives in Germany are also planned for this year. We anticipate that autonomous vehicles from Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles will be in use on the roads from 2025 onwards. Next slide. There's also, what I also want to mention is that there are also news in the segment of new transport solutions. On March 1st, Saito was founded as the first transport as a service spin-off from Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles. And Saito is a digital mediation platform for courier services. The platform will be activated for customers this summer. Saito directly connects customers with nearby couriers, and in addition to fast order creation, the digital solution offers a high level of price transparency. This is a very innovative service in this highly fragmented market segment. The courier also benefits through direct access to customers, better service, and therefore also better earning opportunities. Saito can increase efficiency in the market in the long term, and, for example, save expensive empty runs which are harmful to the environment as well. This is precisely our approach to this market, to develop concepts tailored to the customers. We will see a whole host of such solutions from Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles in the coming months, and maybe you can see some of them also during the ITS World Congress on our booth. Wait and see what we've in store for you, for example, as I already mentioned at the ITS. As you can see, Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles is changing, and although our vehicles for commercial customers and families remain central pillars of our business, they are being increasingly supplemented by a third pillar, autonomous vehicles and new mobility and transport solutions. Next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope it was possible to show you that we try to significantly shape the mobility and the logistics of the next decade with new products, new services, and new approaches to make the journey of goods to our customers more efficient, more sustainable. And that's why I'm looking forward to what we can show you during the ITS. And that's how I want to end my presentation. Thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you very much, Christian, for this great introductory keynote. With no further ado, I will move to our second keynote, Jörg from Continental. And Jörg, you will talk a little bit about the company's contribution to sustainability. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll do what I can in my 7 minutes time, and that's why I've said it also the title, hey, this at best can be a snapshot of what we're doing, so a very, very small snippet. And it's a great pleasure to be here and to give you this sort of insight into what we're doing in the field of sustainability in goods transportation from port to customers. Next. Let's start with basics, really. I didn't want to bore you with lots of numbers and figures and studies and stuff like that. I think it's generally very, very well known that commercial demand is increasing, commercial transportation demand is increasing due to increasing population, increasing purchasing power, increasing globalization. There's lots of drivers there. While there have been constant efforts to improve the efficiency of commercial transportation, the bottom line is we still see a trend that the CO2 emissions from commercial transportation is increasing over time. That is obviously in contrast to the targets from Paris and the European Commission, who want to see significant reductions in the CO2 emissions. Everybody has to play their part in this. We're willing to play our part, but it goes without saying that really the transport industry really needs to step up efforts to get where we all want to be. Next. So let's look at this value chain or playing fields, whatever you want to call it, going from the harbor to delivery to the customer. I've just highlighted 4 parts of this chain. The harbor itself, the highway, railways, and also trams, and last but not least, delivery. Looking at Continental today, where is our biggest contribution in the area of the product portfolio? That's at the moment centered on the highway, where we offer things like eHorizon, giving trucks the capability of looking ahead of the line of sight and being prepared for traffic and road topology, reducing fuel consumption by up to 5%. Low rolling resistance tires also contribute to reducing fuel consumption. Tire pressure monitoring solutions, very widespread in the commercial vehicle industry. Once again, reducing fuel consumption, and very important in the heading in the field of digitalization also, something like 360-degree fleet solutions. That's today. Where are we headed? Let's just take this look into the future. And these are just 4 examples in each of the categories which I mentioned before, where we're active right now. So to, let's say, play our role in the future. On the harbor side, we're a participant in the award EU-funded research project. This is all about maneuvering in confined areas, truck maneuvering in confined areas, exactly what needs to be done in the harbor. Our contribution here is to offer radar-based localization to enable real all-weather 24/7 AD operation, thus making the vehicles more efficient going forward. On the highway, we're participating in the European-funded research project Ensemble. This is all about platooning. So when trucks travel closely behind each other and utilizing aerodynamic gains that way to reduce fuel consumption. Here we're very active in the field of specification of the perception requirements, HMI requirements, and what is necessary on the digitalization side to enable service providers to offer their services, without which platooning will not happen. On the railway side, something you may have not expected from Conti, yes, we're active in the field of trams. We have a project set up with a company in Darmstadt who offers the tram services there, HIG Mobilio. And there we're going to bring on board lots of passenger car safety and efficiency technology to make these trams, for instance, safer, and thereby to improve their acceptance, get more people on board, which is also great for sustainability. Last but not least, I brought something on the delivery side as well. A little bit further away from Europe here, this is something which we're doing down in Singapore. So last mile delivery robots. Here we're working together with a local network operator and a research institute to trial last mile delivery robots in the real working environments in the city. The target there obviously being just to learn more, to get these robots then into later pilot phases and into production, thereby hopefully reducing congestion on the roads. All of these, or no, almost all of these activities you'll be able to see at the ITS World Congress, some at the Conti booth, some at the booth of the research projects. So you'll see lots of interesting things at the ITS World Congress. As I mentioned, this is all only a snapshot of our activities in the field of sustainability, and they go across the board, determining really almost everybody's daily life at Continental. And I won't dive deeper into that. If you're interested, contact me. With that, I thank you very much for your participation and listening to what we have to say here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Jörg. Also great contribution as an introduction to the panel that will start now. For those who have perhaps joined a little bit later, let me reintroduce Željko, who is my colleague at Ertico ITS Europe. He is the Deputy Director of Innovation and Deployment, and Željko will be moderating the panel now. Please, Željko, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you, everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, or good midday to everybody in different parts of the world. I have the pleasure to moderate a discussion between 4 fantastic speakers talking about the experiences from port operations worldwide. I will not remind you, but the maritime industry is the bloodstream of the global economy, where we have approximately 11 billion tons of goods transported every year between the different ports in different parts of the world. The speakers are going to be having 7 minutes each, and we are going to be quite strict with that because we want to give everybody an opportunity to express their views and knowledge. And while the speakers are speaking, please do send us the questions through the online tool. And we are then going to have a very lively question and answer discussion at the end of this meeting. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the first speaker, who is coming with us, who is joining us from China. It is Wu Jiwen, who is head of investment management group at Suzhou Port Group. Wu Jiwen, the floor is yours, please. There we go. We see the presentation, but you might be muted. We are just checking that everything is okay with the microphone as well. And while we are waiting for our speaker, as a reminder, please, we want to make this interactive. Send the questions that you might have. If you cannot answer those questions during the discussions, we will also follow up with them afterwards and come back to you with the answers, even after the end of the webinar. Let me just try again. Do we have Wu Jiwen with us, even with the sound? Okay.
May I suggest, Helgo, that maybe you take the next panelist
Yes,
until... Yes.
We will do that. And then we are going to work out the technical... Oh, we have the video. Can you hear us, Suzhou? No? Okay, in that case, while we are sorting the technical issues, let's proceed with the second speaker, and we are going to come back to Suzhou directly after this presentation. So then, instead of China, we are going to start with our colleague Yihan Ng, Director of Innovation, Technology and Talent Development at the Port Authority of Singapore. So, Mr. Yihan Ng, the floor is yours, please.
Hi, thank you, Zelko. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, afternoon, or evening to every one of you. I'm honored to be part of today's webinar on smart and sustainable ports of the future. Next slide, please. Singapore's efforts in maritime decarbonization focuses on two key targets. First, we ensure that the carbon emissions from domestic maritime and port activities meet our internal targets in the 2030s and by 2050. Second, at the broader level, Singapore supports the initial strategy on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from ships by the International Maritime Organization to achieve at least 40% reduction in CO2 emissions per transport work compared to 2008 levels by 2030. It also targets for at least 50% reduction in total annual greenhouse gas emissions compared to 2008 level by 2050. This is particularly important to Singapore as top bunkering hub of the world, with 49 million metric tons of bunker fuel delivered in 2020. Singapore can play an important role in facilitating the transition to alternative low-carbon energy sources through R&D and providing enabling policies and regulations, as well as the development of bunkering infrastructure and standards. Next slide, please. So to support the global maritime industry to decarbonize, the Singapore Maritime Foundation, supported by Mpa, established an international advisory panel on maritime decarbonization. This was established in July last year to identify strategies to support the maritime industry's decarbonization efforts. The IAP completed its work in April this year and recommended 4 strategies, focusing on harmonizing standards, implement new solution, finance projects, and collaborate with partners, as well as 9 different pathways to accelerate the industry's decarbonization efforts. Mpa, as the National Maritime Agency, is also developing a Maritime Singapore Decarbonization Blueprint 2050, which will outline our overall strategy towards decarbonization in the maritime industry. Through this roadmap, Mpa aims to give assurance to the maritime companies on our commitment and targets towards sustainability and decarbonization. The decarbonization roadmap is expected to be ready in the end of this year. Next slide, please. So one of the IAP's recommendation is to establish a decarbonization center in Singapore. In April this year, Mpa signed a memorandum of cooperation with BW Group, Sembcorp Marine, Eastern Pacific Shipping, Ocean Network Express, Foundation Det Norsk Veritas, and BHP to establish a fund for a maritime decarbonization center to be set up in Singapore. Under this MOC, each private sector partner will contribute 10 million Singapore dollars to support the establishment of the center, fund maritime decarbonization related research and technology development projects, and collaborate with institutes of higher learning and research institutes. Mpa will also add another 60 million Singapore dollars to support R&D projects. This brings the fund to a total of 120 million Singapore dollars. The mission of this center is to help the maritime industry reduce its carbon emissions as quickly as possible by shaping standards, deploying solutions, financing projects, and fostering collaboration across sectors. The center will serve as a platform for technology development and facilitate testing of new solutions and trials, tapping on the innovation ecosystem in Singapore and a sandbox regulatory environment for experimentation. The center will work with global industry partners in the maritime as well as the energy value chain through joint industry projects in various alternative marine fuel projects. So to accelerate the industry knowledge and capabilities in decarbonization, the center will also be plugged into other global decarbonization centers and the IMO Next Gen initiative to share information and knowledge. Next slide, please. So the creation of an enabling environment is critical for innovation and to accelerate the development and adoption of new technologies and solutions. Such an environment brings together different commercial stakeholders together with technology and regulatory partners to experiment and test in a controlled setting under a regulatory sandbox framework. This is an important component when we consider the wide range of different possible alternative marine fuels. Today, our Mpa Living Lab consists of the test bedding areas in our port waters, regulatory sandbox, maritime data hub, ship-to-shore communication infrastructure, and a maritime innovation lab. The Living Lab facilitates technology collaboration where innovative projects such as the next generation vessel traffic management concepts, remote pilotage, maritime autonomous surface ships, just-in-time port operations, as well as other maritime data hub concepts are piloted. Next slide, please. So we have identified a few areas of development. This include LNG and methanol, biofuels, hydrogen and its carriers such as ammonia, electrification, as well as technologies such as carbon capture, storage, and utilization, more commonly known as CCUS. For such developments to be successfully developed, implemented, and adopted, it is important to take an ecosystem approach and form joint industry consortium projects with key stakeholders, including researchers, fuel suppliers, shipping lines, engine makers, as well as the regulatory agencies. Mpa is a partner to the Castor initiative with MISC, Lloyd's Register, MAN Engine, Samsung Shipyards, and Yara, focusing on the development of an ammonia-fueled tanker. Mpa understands that for the maritime industry to decarbonize, this requires considerations beyond the science and economic factors, such as the energy density and estimated cost of fuel, operational factors such as the vessel's operating profile, the type of cargo carried on board. So for example, an ammonia tanker may naturally choose ammonia as a fuel. The trade routes and fuel availability in the different ports of course are just as important. Lastly, there will also be technological factors of the fuel relating to the readiness to be deployed in a different shipboard system as a marine fuel. We welcome like-minded industry organizations to collaborate with us on this journey towards a low carbon, zero carbon shipping sector. Next slide, please. So as one of the top bunkering hubs, Singapore is well positioned to support the provision of alternative marine fuels, such as ammonia, tapping on our past efforts in enabling the LNG infrastructure and supply within the Port of Singapore. The 3-year LNG bunkering pilot program then has helped us test procedures, gain experiences which strengthen Singapore's capabilities. On bunkering standards, we have also developed technical references together with the industry and other government agencies. And finally, this leads to the establishing the licensing framework for these new fuels, which have been done for LNG, and we hope to do so for the other new marine fuels. All these are relevant references which will help the industry transit to alternative new fuel. Next slide, please. So to conclude, the maritime industry is an integral part of the global supply chain. Through our efforts, we hope to partner the maritime and supply chain stakeholders in this journey. We strongly encourage like-minded companies to reach out to us and join us in this journey. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Many thanks, Yihan. Fantastic work by Singapore, and we are very pleased that you are able to be with us. Please stay there for the panel discussion. We go swiftly over to Hamburg, and then after Hamburg, we are going to go to our colleagues in China. Pantian, please, the floor is yours. 7 minutes of fame.
Thank you so much, Iko. Good day, everyone joining this webinar, and I would like also to thank ETICO and ITS regional committees to organize this event today. And as a member of the host committee, myself and the HPA are very pleased to be a part of the organizing team for the upcoming ITS World Congress 2021, and especially to a session dedicated to ITS Solution for Freight Movement, Global Freight and Port Forum. And on Wednesday, this forum will be taking place on the 13th of October. And we are really glad through that the port is seen as a place of driving force for innovation and intelligent transport. And as you could see here, as a port of Hamburg and as the third largest European port, we have challenges to keep the balance of economics and social impacts created by the port activities at the port area is in the heart of the cities. And when we are looking to the geographical map location, next please. The Port of Hamburg functions as a central logistic hub for all overseas and regional cargo. And we have a very excellent hinterland connection to Eastern and Southern Europe by road, as you could see already previously, by rail, and short sea shipping connection to the North Sea and Baltic Sea, and also in the network of the Interland Waterway. And Hamburg has been innovating itself to serve all these customer groups at its best for the high quality of port service. And as a port city, Hamburg has been demonstrating the story of good journeys quite well. As we could see that the port is an integral part of the cities. And if you could really imagine that when we are expecting a big vessel to arrive at the port, the ship is coming from the North Sea and then sailing along this Elbe River, and at some point it's happened to be in the middle of the port. So we have to organize our infrastructure and traffic capacity to keep up the cargo flow moving quickly from and to our port. And here with different technologies within the intelligent transport system would come into play. And next slide, please. And just to show you how close it is about the city and the port activities, so we have to really care about the activities that we are initiating in the port. And as Jörg said in his keynote at the beginning, that we are experiencing the increasing volume of the CO2 emission due to the increasing demand in the transport. And this is also the case within the Port of Hamburg. With this increasing demand of the local transportation, we also experiencing in 2018, for example, year by year, the increase about 7% of CO2 emission by more truck transport in the port. And that makes us very thinkable about and worry about the global goal that we would like to commit to the Paris Convention. And that's why in our Smart Port program, we have also initiated and explored, tested, and implemented some modern technology in traffic management and infrastructure projects. And we would like to also contribute from our side to the carbon reduction within port, as the Port of Hamburg has a target to become carbon neutral by 2040. And in this webinar, I would like also to introduce some of these projects as an appetizer, I would say, for you to come to Hamburg and experience on your own at the Congress this October. Next, please. The first project I would like to introduce is Green for Transport. It is the first V2X implementation in the real environment within a port area. And it is a joint project with our partners like NXP Semiconductor, Siemens, Technolution, Scania. And in this project, we have equipped 2 traffic lights and 60 trucks with V2X communication technologies, which enables real-time communication between the infrastructures and the vehicles. And when a convoy of cargo carrying truck with the provided onboard unit are detected, as the traffic light will give priority to the convoy so that the truck do not need to stop. Maybe next slide, please. So this is the view of the truck drivers, how they are going to approach, and they have the onboard unit, as you could see here, and it's communicating directly with the traffic lights when they are approaching. And with this project, we hope that the greenhouse gas emission caused by braking and accelerating actions at the traffic lights can be reduced. And right now we are in the pilot and evaluation phase where we have implemented technology and concept proof. The Green for Transport will be a part of Logistic Experience Tour, one of the 4 mobility transition tours as a highlight of the Congress as well. Next, please. Second project is Mozart, where we seek a new way of how traffic management and control in the future could work with power of quantum computing technology. And in this project, instead of managing a single or group of traffic lights as a junction only, we would like to find out an optimal network configuration for all port traffic lights at once to ensure smooth traffic flows within the port by reducing waiting time at the traffic lights. And this capability is delivered by quantum annealing computer. And together with our partner Fujitsu, we have explored and tested the simulation model with real-time data. And this quantum-inspired optimization will enable the HPA to pursue the novel approach of traffic management and control with optimal solution within seconds. And at this moment, we have tested a part of the port. Within next years, we would like to expand the area so that we can prove the scalability of the solution. And a positive result will also bring us a great chance to rethink the logistics solution for port city like Hamburg and also for the last mile logistics. So next, please. And last but not least, as the port is always the nucleus of the innovation for the cities, we would like also to highlight various projects in the area of unmanned autonomous systems, which will be demonstrated at the home port. Next, please. Home port is our maritime and logistic innovation network hub. Different kinds of drone innovation will be demonstrated here, from flying, underwater, or surface drones. This new dimension of city transportation system will open up our solution portfolio for different transportation demand in the city with high density of population and traffic. And at HomePort, you will be also meeting startups, experts, and other professionals in this theme of unmanned autonomous systems. So it will be also the hotspot of the drones demonstration too. The program is not yet finished, but it will be published soon. And we are really excited to share more projects which we have done in the ITS theme, and would like also to welcome all of you in October 2021 in Hamburg. And this was my appetizer for you for today, and we'll be happy to give more insights in the Q&A session later. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Pantian. Really interesting presentation of the work that you're doing. I know that you have multiple projects on ITS. Thank you very much. Without further ado, we are going back to China, please. If you can have a colleagues from the port of Suzhou, Wu Jiwen, please. I hope that we have solved the technical issues.
Hello, everyone. It's a great honor to discuss with you the construction, the smart port, and the relationship between port and the economic society. Now, I'd like to invite my colleague, Mrs. Xia, to make an introduction.
Hello, everyone. It's a great honor for me to participate in the network seminar of the World Conference. My introduction into Suzhou Port is divided into 3 parts. First, I would like to give you some basic information about Suzhou Port. Second, I want to talk about the port's contribution to Suzhou's economic development. And in the final part, I will briefly examine the prospect for the development of modern ports. So to give you a general picture of Suzhou Port, let's first look at the location of Suzhou City. Suzhou, the capital of Jiangsu province, is a beautiful port city. It is in the middle east of China, 119 degrees east, 30 degrees north, and on the south bank of the lower reaches of the Yangtze River, the 3rd largest river in the world. So the first thing about Suzhou Port is its obvious location advantage. It is located at the intersection of China's north-south shipping corridor and the Yangtze River, with convenient external transportation. It is close to Shanghai in the southeast and the economic developed Suzhou, Wuxi, Changzhou areas in the southwest. It is a good natural port at the mouth of Yangtze River. Therefore, it has unique geographical advantages and excellent environment for the development of maritime transportation. The second thing is the excellent traffic conditions. Suzhou Port has 3 port areas, namely Zhejianggang, Changshu, and Taicang, which are respectively 169 kilometers, 80 kilometers, and 50 kilometers away from Shanghai. Thirdly, there is also abundant shoreline resources. Suzhou Port has 139 kilometers of the Yangtze River coastline. There are more than 250 specialized productive berths. The fourth is the strong business network. Suzhou Port has freight traffic with more than 140 ports in over 40 countries and regions in the world, which can undertake all the business of import and export goods. Number 5, Suzhou Port also deals with a quite complete range of featured goods. Next slide, please. There are mainly 6 kinds of goods: containers, wood, coal, ore, copper concentrate, and general cargo. It is the only import port for all kinds of timber in the world and the largest distribution base for precious timber in China. It is East China Trade Coal distribution base with a capacity for 30 million tons of brand coal. It is also China Yangtze River import ore transfer base, Cape Ship operation base, One Belt, One Road export port for important materials such as steel and equipment. Next slide, please. Last but not least is its smart port construction. The technologies including machine vision, AI video analysis are being used to realize automatic production and improve the port business format. Next slide, please. So in what ways has the port contributed to Suzhou's economic development? The first one is port city integration and coordinated development. In China, every 1 million tons of throughput can create more than 100 million yuan of GDP and create employment opportunities for 2,000 people. By 2010, Suzhou Port had achieved a cargo throughput of 330 million tons and 3.64. Next slide, please. Okay. Suzhou Port has realized a cargo throughput of 550 million tons and 6.28 million TEUs of containers, which plays a positive role in the continuous optimization of the regional industrial structure. Port provides a channel and international environment for participating in global competition, which urges port enterprises to rely on scientific and technological progress, adjust traditional industries, support emerging industries, and increase the proportion of the tertiary industry so as to promote the upgrading of regional industrial structure. In 2010, Suzhou achieved a GDP of 900 billion yuan. The proportion of the three industries is about 2 versus 58 versus 40. In 2020, Suzhou achieved a GDP of 2017 billion yuan. The proportion of the three industries is about 1 versus 46 versus 53. Next slide, please. The third contribution. No, let's turn back. This is not the right page. Yes. The third contribution is the continuous growth of the regional strength. There are 5 port groups in China, namely the Pearl River Delta, the Yangtze River Delta, the Bohai Rim, the Southwest Coast, and the Southeast Coast Port Group. Suzhou Port is a member of the Yangtze River Delta Port Group. From 2014 to 2020, the 3 provinces and 1 city in the Yangtze River Delta achieved a year-on-year increase in GDP, and its proportion in the whole country has been firmly stable at about 24%. The fourth contribution is the continuous improvement of the investment environment. Practice has proved that the port economy has become a powerful engine to drive hinterland economy. On the one hand, the port itself can create direct output value, national income, employment opportunities, and taxes for the local economy. On the other hand, port construction will promote the improvement of infrastructure and investment environment, enhance Suzhou's attractiveness to foreign investors, and promote the development of regional export-oriented economy. In 2020, the total import and export volume of Suzhou area reached $322.35 billion, including $186.87 billion of export and $135.48 billion of import. In 2020, 1,256 new foreign-funded projects were set up, with more than 330 foreign-funded enterprises with headquarters characteristics. So in the final part, next slide, please. In the final part, I will examine the several key development orientations for modern ports. For one thing, modern port is no longer marked by cargo throughput. Container throughput has become the main symbol of its role and status. If 80% of the goods are finally transported by containers, there will be no international port without deep-water berths. Therefore, it is critical to strengthen the capability of modern ports as deep-water terminals. Number 2, in the aspect of network layout, as ships are developing towards large-scale and super large-scale, those ports with the ability to attract large sea, land, and air global joint ventures and independent carriers are expected to become hub ports, while those ports with poor geographical location and insufficient competitiveness can only serve as feeding ports in the process of port network development. Therefore, we should strengthen modern ports' capacity for networking development. Number 3, next slide, please. Number 3, business logistics. So most of the important ports are located at the intersection of sea, land, and air traffic lines. They are the main links of international logistics supply chain and can provide fast, reliable, and flexible comprehensive logistics operation services. Modern ports are increasingly headed towards the development of modern logistics system. The fourth is port city integration. With the rapid development of container transportation, ports all over the world are operating in the same international network. The realization of port function needs to be supported by port city functions and the development of port hinterland economy, so that it develops in the direction of port city integration, economic integration. And then there is management informatization. Next slide, please. Management informatization. So due to the rapid flow of goods, the development of container multimodal transport, door-to-door transportation and logistics system, more requirements have been made to the port information network construction. Therefore, technology and information have become the decisive element for the survival and development of modern ports. The final thing is port intelligence. We should accelerate the application and integration of digital network, radio frequency, satellite positioning, artificial intelligence, and other technologies so as to improve the informatization and intelligent level of port construction, operation, and management. Next slide, please. So as a part of this global tendency, Suzhou Port will provide 5G wireless private network solution of local area SIM to terminal enterprise through network business operators. First, Xinhai Terminal will be turned into the first automated bulk cargo terminal in China. Second, Taicang Port Container Terminal Phase 4 will be transformed into the first terminal along the river to realize the full automation of storage yard and to use automated container trucks so as to create a model of intelligent port. The last thing I want to say is that Suzhou is a city of long history, beautiful scenery, and material abundance. It is also a city full of vitality. We welcome you to Suzhou and hope that we could meet you here. Thank you. That's the end.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our colleagues from Suzhou. Beautiful town, impressive work that you're doing in the port. Thank you very much. Please stay with us. We would like to ask you a couple of questions in the panel later. Thank you very much. With that, we are also going to our last speaker. Last but not the least, as we usually say, we are going to have Richard B. Easley with us from the United States, who is going to tell us a little bit about the work that is happening on ports and around ports, also in the United States, and how the roads are connected to ports and transport, basically. Richard, the floor is yours. 7 minutes. We are timing you.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Jelko, thank you very much, everybody. And I would say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night from the United States. What I want to talk about is just a portion of the port to the roadway. When we talk about port to door, there's so much I want to share with y'all. There's so much, but I only have 7 minutes, as Jelko said. We're going to talk a little bit about the areas where we need more work in ITS. Apologies, we're here in the hotel. Areas where we need more work, and ITS is a good tool to help us get there. It's something that we've been dealing with since I started ITS America back in 1992, 93. Okay, next slide, please. Click, Cordelia. Cordelia is my partner. Thank you, Cordelia. I'm going to touch three things in this 7 minutes. One is the fact that freight and traffic are inseparable. That seems obvious to us, but it is not obvious to many people in our industry. Separate solutions, regardless of whether that's on the highway operations, roadway operations, or port operations. Separate solutions means new problems most of the time, unfortunately. We got to be smarter. And of course, the last part, an issue we're still struggling with, is freight, roadway operations. If you're in the freight business, roadway operations and traffic, and that's not my world. And if you're in the traffic operations, freight, that's not my world. It's not my job, and they couldn't be more incorrect. Cordelia, click. Let's start with reservation systems. I'm going to touch on a few things. Reservations, like a lot of times we have ports, In container terminals and operations, there's a lot of congestion. And so reservation systems has arisen. Sometimes the cure can be worse than the ailment, and sometimes we make the assumption that the solution we came up with, this is going to be great, but it's not necessarily working out for everybody well at all. Sometimes we get a lot of unintended consequences that we really should have known. Click, Cordelia. With regard to port reservation systems, we got lots of terminal congestion, right? So reservation systems work really well for that. We can increase the throughput, we can increase safety, increase security. It's a fantastic thing from the port standpoint. And what we're talking about here is we have so many vehicles picking up and dropping off that we get trucks inside the operation, inside the gates, that it's just chaos inside. So let's make reservations. You come in, go ahead, click, Cordelia. Let's make reservations. So if you're here at a certain time, we can manage the traffic. And if you come in early, you have to be early, or then we're going to charge you heavy fines, right? Now, that seems to be, from a port perspective, boom, makes a lot of sense. We're doing great things. This is Port of Los Angeles, LA Long Beach, which is, of course, the largest container operation in the United States. On the right, you see the port. On the left, you see residential. So I'm a driver. I come in, and it is nighttime. It's in the evening, and I get there earlier. Please go back. Cordelia, we're not there yet. That's a different subject. So it's in the evening, and I come to the port, and let's see, it's a $200 fine if I get there early, and the fines vary. So I don't have that kind of money because my boss isn't paying me that much. So I'll park and wait. And what happens is trucks park and they wait. Guess where? In the residential areas where you have trucks idling, you have trucks, people have to use the restroom, they're on the street. The residents are really, could we not have seen that being a problem that comes up? But that's what happens if we're not thinking forward. Go ahead, next one. So reservation systems, and in this we have port operations. In this case, this is Port of Newark there in New York, New Jersey, second largest in the U.S. This terminal, they were putting together a new gate operation system to get trucks in and out. Click. And this image here is from the gate. You can see the trucks there. Typically, they'd be backed all the way up as far back as you can see the asphalt. Next one, click. This is an overview of that same area. Click. Now that gate there, that gate portion there, that's where we were just looking at the previous slides, right? The previous slide showed the gate. That's where that is. And to get there from the major thoroughfare, you had to come back in through the entry road. All the trucks had to come in through that entry road. And when they did that gate operation, they changed the system. There were glitches. This is again in an environment where, hey, I don't deal with the roadway operations, and I don't want the roadway operations dealing with us at the port. And the same thing with the roadway operations. At port, that's their own deal. We don't work together. They're separate. Click. But when they did that, go ahead. When they started doing that operation system, trucks started backing up because they had problems. And next thing you know, we're backing up, stop. And now we've got trucks that are right there on the major interstate thoroughfare that are backed up there. And roadway operations folks know, hey, we're in trouble. The port operation folks know we're in trouble. And to make matters worse, we had an IKEA right there, and all the cars that are going in, they use that same route. Things not very good. And that's an example of the communication, the lack of communication between port operations and roadway. Go ahead, next one, please. Finally, one of the big challenges that we have there, and certainly in ports in urban areas, big challenge is signage. And not every driver, every delivery for a container, it's going there back and forth every day. A lot of them coming from great distances, coming to pick up and leaving. Next slide. And so if they're not, the signage isn't good, which most of the surveys show it's not, we're looking at no through trucks. Next, click please. You make a wrong turn, another wrong turn, another wrong turn. Next. And finally, we're looking at a situation like this, where if you're new to the area and I have to go to 87 North, and I've got a 53-foot trailer behind me, container behind me, I'm in big trouble. And we need to do a better job, and ITS can help with that. Next slide. We're going to the last one here. There's a lot of issues associated with port to door, and I just touched on the one in the proximity of the port regarding the roadway system and the port operations. But we still didn't touch on truck parking, diesel idling, traffic detours, not accommodating truck delivery hours, grade crossings, intersections, where ITS plays a big role in all of these. And if you make it to Hamburg, and I'm sure you will, come see me. We're going to be putting together a port to door workshop. That's 2 sessions. Jelko and I are intimately involved in putting that together. Learn something, make things better, because the problems I just talked about, I am sure you have seen them in your hometown. With that, 7 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Richard. And also thank you very much for highlighting the global forum that we're organizing at the ITS World Congress, where we are going to be going much more in detail into these topics. We have now heard from 3 fantastic ports and also from Richard from the US side about the challenges that they are facing, but also the holistic approaches that they're all taking to improving the throughput of the ports, to working on sustainability, to working on even road safety implications on the economy, etc. Fantastic points from all of the speakers. As ERTCO, we also working on a number of projects on ports. We are going to present them in Hamburg, so please join us then. But then I would like to jump over to the questions and answers session and invite my colleague Lisa to pose the first question. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Very, very interesting input from the panelists. Thank you to all of you. So the first question, I'd actually like to go back to Continental, to Jörg Lützner. There is a question here. You talked about Ensemble, which is all about platooning with trucks. You are close to the end of this Ensemble project, where ERTCO, by the way, is a partner. What have you learned?
We've learned a hell of a lot, to quote a phrase. No, because we're close to the end, we have over, say, 2.5 years experience. What we really see is that sort of trucks driving at highway speeds and close separation is a really challenging topic. And I mean, this is not just about sort of 2 trucks being capable of this, but sort of any truck with any other. So an MAN truck from one carrier with a Daimler truck from another carrier, this is the ideal situation. To really get there, this needs to be very, very carefully specified so that the communication is absolutely unambiguous. Thereby making this safe, because safety is sort of top of the list of priorities if we're heading in this direction. Maybe the other thing which we see is that getting to this very, very close separation, where we're talking about maybe 15 meters or less, we'll have to go there in steps, so that in a first step we'll be maybe a little bit further apart and then focus on safety, gain experience, and in a second step get to closer separation, where we can really utilize the aerodynamic advantages and save a considerable amount of fuel.
Fantastic. That's really interesting, and we're all looking forward to a final demonstration where we are going to have a 7-truck platoon from all of the different truck manufacturers, and supported very much by yourself. Excellent. Thank you very much. End of September. We would like to go and ask the next question to Yihan from Singapore. So thank you very much, Yihan, again for presenting all of the work that Port of Singapore is doing. But is there a silver bullet? Is there some kind of silver red thread to all of the different activities ports can do to achieve their targets?
Thanks, Jelko, for the question. Well, I would like to say yes, but unfortunately the answer is a no. This is especially because we understand that the preferred fuel of different companies depends on a lot of different factors. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, it goes beyond just the science and economic factors. It also depends on the kind of trade and cargo that the ship carries, as well as the routes and the fuel availability in the different ports of calls. Lastly, there is also the issue of technological factors and technological readiness that can be put on board newer ships. So, for example, while ammonia as a marine fuel could likely be more ready than hydrogen, the time frame and the cost will also skew some of these decision factors. So what we are trying to do on MPA's front is that we are trying to explore all different possible pathways. We are working with the industry on different initiatives so as to help the sector gain a deeper understanding of the different fuel options through some of these joint industry projects to make informed decisions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Then there is a question for Hamburg. You mentioned a number of different projects, including the Mozart project on 5G. You were talking about optimal network configuration, to ensure smooth traffic. And there is the question here around when do you think this is actually at a stage where it will be implemented? You were talking about proving scalability right now, but could you give a bit of a time frame, please?
So yes, thank you, Lisa, for the question. I think we all know that the simulation of the area like port or a city is very complex, and you have lots of factors that have to be concerned in the model, and also to really try out if the result and the outcome can really be reliable also before we are going to go live. And I think in my prognosis, I would say it would take us a little more years. I say years, 2 or 3 years, maybe once that we know exactly, okay, these kinds of technologies will be really reliable enough so that we can work on constantly. And that's why we have been doing this in an iterative process. We try to include different kinds of options and factors and components in our project in different phases. And right now we are almost a half of the way to really say it could be scaled up or not. And that is really a challenging and also very exciting journey that we have been taking through. And that is it is very difficult to really say that until 2024 this will become in place. So I think we still have a lot of things to overcome, but I'm quite really optimistic because we have also quite competent partners that we are working with, and we all exchange, collaborate, and these kind of things. As you may see from our projects set up, we haven't done this always alone. We do always find out a collaborative format or a construct or constellation so that we can really bind up many competencies that we need to solve the problems, and that is actually the key issue. And I think every partner knows about these kind of difficulties and challenges that all come with those technologies projects.
Great, thank you very much, Pantian. And it's also a pleasure for us to collaborate with you on many different projects. Thank you very much. I would like to go to our Chinese colleagues and Wu Jiwen with the question. Looking at the presentation that you have given us, it is very impressive to see the scale of your port operations. And my impression is that this is very important from not only from the trade point of view, but also from the overall economical and societal point of view to the large part of China. Your activities must be very important to a lot of Chinese companies. how do you see this social impact that you are bringing?
我来翻译一下，就是说他觉得看到我们做的这个报告，非常的认为我们的这个成就非常大，然后它不仅仅是在贸易方面，也是在经济社会影响方面都很大。那么我们所做的这些我们所做出贡献，这些工作肯定对中国的这些公司都有很大的影响。但是那么你是怎么看待就是我们苏州港的工作对所造成这个社会影响呢？
应该来说，我们这个苏州港的这个港口的工作跟地方经济是紧密关联。我们港口是为地方经济服务的，港口是基础性、枢纽性的一些设施，主要是为这个各方的产业做一些基础性的配套。其实港口的发展来源于这个各方对经济的支撑，这个两者是相互牵扯的这个关系。简单点。
So a port economy is a very important part of the local economy, and we think that the port is important infrastructure for the hinterland economy and the economy, and the hinterland economy is a very important supporter of port economy. So we think the two things are mutually beneficial.
Okay, thank you very much. And just as a last question to Richard before we end, Richard, do we have a clear understanding of the benefits that ITS can bring?
We do. We have a very clear understanding of the benefits ITS can bring. Unfortunately, not everybody else has a clear understanding of the benefit ITS can bring, and that's our job, to be able to make those benefits known in a language that non-ITS, non-transportation professionals can understand, recognize, and becomes a no-brainer for them. We've done a pretty poor job of that, I would say, worldwide on that issue, because there's a lot of good things that can come of it, and there's also a lot of promises sometimes that we make that are not that you can't follow up on. And so we need to be smarter. We need to speak the language, and we need to be much more realistic and pragmatic in our application of ITS. Thank you, Lisa.
Fantastic. And I hope that the Hamburg Congress is an opportunity to communicate a little bit more around the opportunities and solutions. And of course, Richard will be there along many of the other speakers today, so there is an opportunity there. So we've ran out of time. You saw the early bird is ending on the 11th of July. So if you haven't signed up yet, run and do so. And apart from that, I want to say thank you again, both to the speakers and the listeners. And we hope to have you with us in early September when we have the 5th webinar in this series. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.